Gastrointestinal parasites are the #1 health concern for sheep and goat producers. And what compounds this problem is that many of the antiemetics or dewormers that we use are not as effective as they once were. So in order for us to do a good job of deworming these animals, we need to try to reduce the number of times or the amount of dewormer that we use in these animals. Well, one way we can do this is through targeted selected treatment. And this is a concept that was developed down in South Africa by some professors there, one being Professor Milan, in which he realized that 20% of the sheep in your herd or goats in your herd are contributing 80% of the problem with your parasites out in your pasture. So if we could deworm that 20%, we do as good a job as if we deworm the whole herd. Well, in order to pick out those 20%, you're either going to have to do a fecal egg count on every animal in your herd, which could be very time consuming. So he came up with what he called Pfaffer-Milan's chart, or in simpler terms, we call it FAMANCHA. And what we do with this chart is we look at the eyes of the sheep and goat, and based on how anemic they are, we decide which ones get dewormed. Now, we can't use this in a vacuum because there are other things that cause anemia besides parasites. And we also have to remember this is only for the Haemonchus contortus parasite. So there could be other parasites causing you problems that we would miss using this chart. Now, Professor Bath down in South Africa came up with a solution to that, which he calls as his 5-point check. And in that system, we take a look at different areas of the animal and decide whether we might need to also deworm those animals. Now, he also incorporates first FAMANCHA, the eye chart that we use, but he also takes a look at the nasal passages of sheep. Do we have a problem with nasal blots? He looks at the jaw. Do we have submandibular anemia, which would be bottle jaw in layman's terms? We would deworm those animals. We take a look at body condition scoring. If we have poor body condition, we would deworm those animals. And then we take a look at the tail or the dag area, which we're getting a score there, and that is just how much fecal material is adhering to the wool or the hair of these animals. If it's excessive, we'd want to go ahead and deworm these animals. Now, some other people have added hair coat for goats. If we have rough hair coats, we would suggest deworming these animals. Now, I hope that you don't have a problem with parasites, but if you do, incorporating some of these things will help us to reduce the amount of dewormer we're using in these animals, and hopefully these dewormers will be more effective for a longer period of time as we go.